Hi, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way again. I've got a fantastic side-by-side layout for you this time using the Minte Graceful papers. It's a very, very pretty paper line. I've done the full side-by-side 12 by 12 layout. In the Project Life sleeve system, these are the type of cards that we will be making to fit into our sleeves. So I've done the full tutorial and I have all the cutting descriptions and everything, and all the papers I use and everything else, so you can just follow along. So I'll give you a sneak peek of the finished layout so you can have a look to see what it actually looks like finished before I do the tutorial. And please don't forget to subscribe and like, and also press the bell as well, because then you'll get notified when I do more of these videos. So let's get on. This is a quick look at the papers that I've used in this layout. It's Minty papers and it's called Graceful. Now this particular paper line had a lot of mauves in it, which I find are very, very difficult. Like they had this one and this one. Very, very difficult to do unless your photographs are of somebody wearing purple or something like that. So I do tend to steer away from purple. So I will show you the papers. Now this is your 3x4 sheet, and I did use this one here, and I think I used this one here. But over on the back, I did use the white frames. So I actually cut the frames out. But the best thing is to wait until I get to those cards and I can actually show you which squares I cut for that. These are the papers, and as you can tell, they are very, very busy. I know I did use this piece to cut out, but I will actually show you as I'm doing the cards where I actually got my cutting out from, to actually show you where to cut. These are the papers, and I did use a lot of this. I used the second sheet as well, so I used virtually from this sheet, I use both sheets. There is this sheet here, which of course has the mauve, which I didn't use, and I used about half of this, but I didn't use the pink. These are the florals that you get with your cut apart sheet. So I cut most of the big florals out and a few of these. I didn't worry too much about these, and a couple of these when I was cutting out. Now I used a plain white cardstock for my Photomats as normal. Now because those papers are so busy, I actually introduced from my card stash a very spludgy sort of damask cream and a little bit of the brown, which actually goes with the leaf tonings really, really well, so that you're not going away from the tonings of the paper line. I did introduce some burgundy because of the burgundy flowers to actually make a really good pop of colour. But if you didn't want to do that, you could actually go for the turquoise colour that they have used, and then introduced a sort of a lighter toning in the like this colour here. For your tonings, you could actually use the spare sheet that they've got of that if you wanted those tonings, but because it's so busy, I decided I needed the ordinary plain flat paper. Now with this particular paper line, I must admit, I got very excited when I got these papers. And I thought, oh, I can't wait to get stuck into them. But actually, when I went to do my layout, I found it extremely difficult. And I actually had blocks as well, so I could only do a couple of cards and then I had to walk away and leave it and come back the next day and actually correct some of my layouts that I've done, rearrange things just to make it work. I think this kit's really absolutely gorgeous for if you were doing cards or large layouts or mini albums and that, but I really do think with Minte, I think they're, for what I do, I think they are so busy. But I do hope you like what I actually come up with. And it does go to show that even after all the years I've been doing this, that I can hit roadblocks as well and how I can motor through them. So let's get on with making our cards. Now I'm doing the portrait cards first because that's the way my layout is going to work, but you can change yours around to the landscape as well if you want to. So I have got my 6x4 which I've cut in the brown coloured basil. Now this sheet here has come from, on this sheet here, which is page number 3, I have actually cut this from here. So it is roughly right in the middle. So you can cut your piece straight out. So it's roughly 3 inches in and then your 6. So I've just cut that down because I wanted a bit of the leaf and etc. Or if you've cut into that, you could actually take that further down because I do hide all of this piece. I just wanted this leaf piece here. So that actually has been edged, and I decided to use hickory smoke because I didn't want the brown tonings, and I found the grey is a fantastic one if you're not sure what to use because it's very, very soft. And it just gives you that little bit of detailing, and particularly if you've done cutouts, it actually hides all your white edges. Now this cutout sheet came from that number 3 again, and I cut this piece up here out, and I just went round and cut that bow out. So just go round and cut that piece out, so you end up with this piece here which I've done with the hickory nut. Now what I've done here, I've just put the foam tape on the top. Now I did have a question from somebody that said, can they use the cardboard like this for your raising like you do in card making? Well, I wouldn't, because this is going into a photo album and you want to make that sure that everything you use is all acid free. And I'm not really sure with cardboard whether that can be acid free. So I tend to go for my foam tape, and I always use a really good foam tape, not from the cheapo shops, because if your album is going to last over the period that you want it to, for say up to, you know, 50, 60 years if you're passing them down, ordinary cheap tapes will come unstuck, whereas your good Express It tapes and things, they just don't. They just keep sticking. And honestly, after the next day after you've stuck them down, if you go to rip them out of your page, you will rip your pages to bits. They are that sticky. If you're not sure, you could put a little bit of glue on there to make sure, but I've never had a problem in all the years I've been doing scrapbooking with my good tapes coming undone. So why I've done that, I want this to sit flat. So once again, this is like EZ Runner, which is really, really good tape and doesn't come undone either. But I tend to use this for when I'm doing my layouts to film, because it's quick and easy to use. Now what we need to do now is get our card, and we're going to attach this card. And remember, you don't need to have 50,000 yards of tape on these cards, because they are housed in plastic folders. They don't get a lot of beating. So here we do, so we have an 1/8 of an inch border. Now that card, when I cut it, was 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that just gives you that nice little border all around. Now this piece, you need to pop it onto your page just a bit over. So I sort of want it to go over the edge of that card, like so. So stick your flat bit down and then stick your foam tape pieces down, and that just raises that top part up. Now I did cut a little bird from the cut apart sheet, and I want that to sit flat, and I want this little bird to face the other bird on the branch, like so. Now the reason being I have done that is, if you have a bird like this, this would be fine if it was sitting inside the other layout page, but because this is actually sitting on the edge of your album, if you have a bird looking to the left, that is how your eyes will run, and it will run off the page and off your album, and you don't want that. You want to actually, if you come up here and look, you'll hit the other bird and he will boomerang your eyes back into your album. It's the same as with photographs. You always try to get people, when they're looking sideways, to actually look to the center of your album so that your eyes will follow that motion. Now I have put the year here. Now what I've done here, I've got my brown, my pink, and then I've just done the date. When I was doing my photographs, I always do my printing of my dates and things like that. So I don't want that raised, I just want that put down. So I'm going to gradually stick my bits in. Now with this, what I actually did was I actually got my date and then I cut round with scissors. So what you would do is actually stick your date down onto your piece of cardstock. I'm just trying to find a piece. And of course, when you want your piece, you can't find it. Or just say for instance, oh, there we are, there's the pink. Say you wanted pink, you would actually stick your date down, then you would eyeball it like that, and then you would just get your scissors and just cut round. Then you would stick that one onto your brown, and then away you would go. And that way you get a perfect fit, and you don't have to fiddle around like I'm doing to get it to fit perfectly. And that way you'll end up with an absolute perfect border, which I haven't got. So I'm just going to have to keep snipping bits off until I do. So that's another little hint to do, is to just stick it down onto your cardstock and get the perfect borders all the way around. So then I'm going to stick that. This is sort of like my title card, and then you could actually, if you wanted, put a little bit of saying here. So make sure that's nice and straight, which I haven't got. Like that. And there is our first card done. Now what I need to do here is just go to the back and cut the bits off so that it sits nice and flush up with the piece. So as I said, there is our first card finished. We'll go on to our next cards. Now we're on our next portrait up on the top. Now this piece of paper come from number 2 sheet, and it's just a 6x4 cut on the bottom there. So you cut that whole piece just 6 by 4, and that is our card here. Now what I have done here, I have cut a piece of paper here, the burgundy, 2 by 5 3/4, and that is going to go over the top here, like so. So we are going to just lay that flat. So go ahead and just stick that down as a layering piece with just that tiny border all the way around to keep it nice and even. Now this time I've actually got all of my photographs prepped, ready to go, which is unusual for me, but I was organised this time. I had to give myself some enthusiasm to finish this layout. So I have cut myself a piece of the pink basil, which is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, so it's just slightly larger than your 3 by 4 Photomat. And I've got my 3 by 4 Photomat, and what I did a 3 by 4 photograph and just trimmed 1/8 of an inch off each side to get that perfect fit. So we can go ahead and lay our photograph down onto our mat here, like so. And then that is going to go on the bottom right in the middle, like that. So you've still got some of the florals showing. Now I did, just to give a bit of colour, I actually have got some die cut sort of ferny leaves, which I all pulled apart and just used little tiny bits of in this. So what we are going to do now is we are going to layer this down, and I'm going to put a piece of the tape at the top. Because I'm layering underneath, I don't want that sticking down as yet, but I will stick the bottom. So we're going to lay that, and once again, try to make sure that your border down here and down here are the same, because if you have odd borders, and I don't like my photograph to sit in the middle either, I try to angle them either at the top or the bottom. Now what I'll do now, I'm just going to layer underneath these flowers, and I think we'll put the pink one over here further and put the burgundy one over here. Like so. So we are going to stick this in, and I'm just going to use a bit of my Tombow glue. Now a little hint with your glues, I have a little tray that I keep my glues in so that my glues actually point downwards, and I find it's really good because the glue is always at the bottom that I use. So here is my glues, and I keep them floating down. Now I did try some of these new quick dry adhesives, because I have always used Express It clear glue gel. It's very thick and it's very gluggy, but it has no smell. And I've noticed just lately, every time I come into my craft room, all I can smell is glue, and it's coming from these. The smell of these is really atrocious, and I find it's like glue gun. They leave all little filament bits. I'm really not very impressed with either of these glues. I think next time I would definitely be sticking to my clear glue. I know it is thicker than these, but I tend to find if you have a toothpick or something like that and you can put it on with a toothpick, it works absolutely brilliant. And if you keep it downwards like this, you'll find your glue is always at the bottom, ready to do what you want it to do. So that's another little tiny hint. Now with this one here, I'm just going to, I think, raise that up just slightly. So I want a piece of my tape here, and I'm just going to put that at the top of my flower, and then get a piece of my tape on the bottom, and pop that underneath so that the bottom attaches and the top is slightly raised. And then I'm going to stick my florals and I do like, for this type of thing, my little Tombow glue. It leaves no little, and it has no smell. So underneath that, I probably should have put this down first. Then stick my flower down. Let's cut that bit off there. These are one of the dies which is really handy, because if you've got any green paper left over from your kits, you can make up these leaves and then they're all ready for the next time. They really are worth paying the money for, because you use them over and over again. So then I just put the little bit of greenery there. So there we have our next card. Done and finished. Now I've got a confession, my camera didn't work for the last card, so I just have to walk you through this one. I have used a base card, the 6x4 in the cream, in the brown cardstock, and then I just carefully take this off and then stick it back. The cream spludgy card underneath, I cut 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and I edged it in the hickory smoke and stuck that down. Now this burgundy piece here goes the full way down, and it is 3 1/2 by 5 1/2, and you need to just pop that down with the border going all the way round. Then I cut this little piece of cream card, which is 3 3/8 by 2 3/4, and if you don't work in eighths, it is just if you've got your 3 1/2, which is what the burgundy is, just cut a slither off either side just to get that little bit of a border. Now this flower here is separate, this piece here and the green, but this cut came from this cut apart sheet here, and this piece of pink is the leaves of this rose. So you just need to cut that out here and just straighten it off, and it goes flat like that. And I've stuck a bit of the green here and a little bit of that separate floral piece here. I don't tend to worry about the fact that it isn't supported just underneath where I've been layering, because my cards live in a plastic folder. They don't get the rough treatment that they would do if they were in a mini album, which if that was the case, I would put a piece of card underneath this to give it the support that it needs. Now with my photograph, I have done the same as this card here. My 3 1/4 down here by my 2 3/4 here to give me the pink matte. I have got my ordinary 3x4 white matte, and I've just cut 1/8 of an inch off all of my 3x4 photograph to make it fit. Now this card here is going to go at the top, and it's going with that border all the way around the same, and it's just going to slip in like so. So when you have a look at your finished card, you've got one photograph at the bottom and you've got one towards the top, like so. It's just more pleasing to the eye than having them all grouped down the bottom. So there is our card, and I do apologise about that. And I'm trying a new system that I will actually write the measurements down as I'm doing each of the cards, so you definitely know the measurements that I've cut if you want to pause the video to check that out. Now I made sure I turned the camera on this time just to make sure. So we are going on to our bottom card, which has once again the brown base of 6x4. Now the cream damask paper, I have cut that at 3 3/3 by 5 3/4 and edged it in the hickory smoke. Now I decided I wanted a bit of texture with this, so I used a washi tape that I have, which is a script, which is here. But if you don't have that sort of washi tape, you can either just use a stamp with some script on it, or if you haven't even got that, if you have an old book, just cut your piece from your old book like that. Just cut it down to the size that you want and just fold it up and underneath your card, and you will get the same effect like that. So however you can do it, or if you can't even do that, just you could leave it off. So we are going to attach that card to our base like so. And you can always get old books from places for nothing, and you can get them brownier than this, or even nice crisp white ones with print as well, so that people don't want or have got torn or whatever. I always have them in stock. Now this piece here was the frames that I was talking about, and this actually used the one with a little reef with the bird, which is this one here, in that sheet. So all I did was just quickly cut with my scissors, cut all the green off, and I'm just going to have that put at the top of the page. As you can tell, I cut mine off and then decided I wanted it. Now we're going to put this over into the corner like that, because I decided I was going to put it in the middle, which is why I cut it off, but then I decided I actually wanted to show this bit of frame here with just the bit of the writing down here. Now with my Photomat here, I have got the 3 Photomats. My son's just had a baby, so it is, you know, everybody gets tired when they've got a newborn in the house. So what we have got here is our Photomat, which I've got the brown, which is 3 1/8 and 4 1/8. Then I cut a burgundy for my normal mat size of 3x4. So we're going to attach that down, so it just has that little bit of a border like that. Then I've got my white mat, which is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and that gives you another border. Now I did cut this photograph quite down so that I've just got 1/8 of an inch. So my photograph now is 2 1/2 by 3 1/2, so it will just fit and built up my Photomat. Now the Photomat I want down in the bottom corner we're just going to pop that there with the 1/8 of an inch. Don't press it down too hard yet because we've got to put things underneath. Now here, I just want a piece of the floral popping out like that out of my card. So I just cut one of the little flowers and I'm going to stick that down like so. Bit fiddly, but we'll get there. And then we have this floral came from the cut apart sheet and I cut all the rest off and just used the rose and the other bit. And I want that tucked in underneath the burgundy part, just like that. So I'm just going to edge that down, just slide that up and over like so. Just move it across slightly so that the floral goes inside the frame. And then I'm going to glue here a little bit of that foliage. And just play around with it until you get your foliage just right. And there we have our next card of the set. Now we'll do our 3x4, which are all landscape, and there's 4 of them. And as normal, I've done 2 with photographs, and these are exactly the same but using different papers. For the first one, I've got here we are here, brown cardstock at 3x4, and I've just edged that with the hickory smoke, which I haven't done. So just very lightly, I just go over the edge, not too heavy, just to give it a little, cut all the edges off. And then I have got my Photomat, which is of the white, which is 2 7/8 and 3 7/8. And then I have my normal 3x4 photograph, and I've cut that down to 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 so that it all fits. Now I've already stuck my photograph down onto my white mat, so all we have to do with this one, it's really easy, is just to center our Photomat onto that card, and there is our first card. This one is exactly the same. You've got your 3x4 in your pink cardstock. I have done the Photomat is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, which is here. And then my photo is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, so it matches up with this one exactly. So we will just attach that to our Photomats like so. And there we have 2 of our cards already and quickly done. Now our next card I'm going to do is just move all this stuff up the top out the way. Is this one here. Now I have got, which is this one here. This is your brown cardstock, which I've done 3x4. I have got my card here, which I've edged, which is the cream, I'll call it damask, is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, so that you've just got that tiny little border. I do this one a lot smaller than normal because it's such a small card that you need all the surface area you can get. Now I'm just going to stick that down with that border so it's all matching up with these photographs. Now I also, from there, I cut the frame out, and it was from, I'll just find the sheet so I can show you. It was the one up the top, this one here. So all I did then, I actually cut the whole thing out and left the center. So we'll just attach that right in the middle again. And I've edged that in hickory smoke as well. Now from the paper, I've just got one of the cut flowers there. It's one of the smaller groupings. And I just want that to be into the center of this card. It's going to be a very, very simple card. Now I think with this one I'm going to raise this up a little bit, so I shall get my scissors, and I don't use my good fussy cutting scissors for cutting tapes and things. I just keep my fussy cutting scissors for fussy cutting, because otherwise you get all bits of glue and stuff all over your scissors. So I just have an old, really old pair of scissors for that job. Okay, so we're going to just place it so it looks nice and pleasing. I just want it slightly off center, but not too off center. There we go. And I've got some more of those little ferny leaves again, which I'm just going to quickly glue down. I'm just going to poke those in. I normally do try and use groups of 3, odd groups. That's your rule of thumb to sort of work with. Okay, and then we just stick this one up the top. And there we have another one of our little eye candy cards. And if you have a look, the photographs, I think, are going to run this way. So our next card we have got for cardstock, for our true 3x4, we have our burgundy, which once again we're introducing the burgundy that we have dotted around just to make it look the same. Then I have got my pink cardstock, which is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, which is this one here. So we just quickly, if you've got rollers, just work them gently with cardstock because it does tend to tear. So once again, we've got that tiny little bit of burgundy following through like on this photograph here. This one here, I used the card, and you see where we cut this bird out to do this one here. We had this area here, so when you have a look here you can actually see that's where that leaf is. So I have just cut it out of the spot that was left in here. And this little card is 3.5 by 2.5, and I did put that washi tape down, or if you have done a book page, you would do it with your book page and just turn it under and tuck it in. So we need to actually attach that one in the center of that card. And as you can see, I've left quite a big border of pink in there. And it was only because that's what was left with my card, so I made it as big as I possibly could. So once again, I have got one of my little groupings of flowers here, which I'm going to put in like so. And then I've got another little one to pop in. I also have 3 lots of greenery to tuck in, and I decided here to put the carriage. The only thing is I've knocked the loop off, so I'll just do that in pen. And see where this flower is, it just looks too small for my flowers. So that's why I got that extra flower that I can just pop on top of that lantern like that. So what I'm going to do there, I'm going to raise that the same as I've done this one here with my foam tape. So we quickly just pop some of that on there. Pop that on, and then I'm going to attach my little fernery. And as you can tell with that green, it does need that little bit of extra. Colour just to bring those flowers out, mainly because they didn't actually give you a lot of green leaves. They were all purple, whereas normally I would have just cut some leaves from things and just used them from the kit, but this time they didn't have any, so I went to my stock box. So we are going to attach our lantern down. Like so. Then we will attach the floral. And you can see I've left a little bit there, just so it looks like it's jutting out of the patch. And then I'm going to get a little bit of silver and just replace the loop that fell off, which is a nice and quick and easy way of doing that. Now we'll do our first of our landscape cards. So once again, I've got the cutting instructions here. You have got your matte brown card, which is a 6x4. You also have your matte in the brown, which is 4.5 by 3.5. Now this piece here is a 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I cut it from this sheet here, which is number 4, and as you can tell, it is cut from here. So you just want some of this foliage towards, so if you just think about 1/4 inch past that window frame, it's absolutely perfect for what I need. So you cut that from there, and that again is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. Now for fussy cutting, I just fussy cut this piece out, and as you know, you have taken from this your little lantern here for the little 3x4 card that we've just completed. This piece up here, you have taken a piece from here as well as that. So now we will construct this card, which of course is your 6x4. Now we need to edge this with your hickory smoke. Actually, hickory smoke was one of about the third of my inks that I ever bought. Like, I bought a black, I bought sort of my walnut come espresso type colour, and hickory smoke was the next one, and then after that I got antique linen. And with those four, you basically have all the colours you ever need for this edging. So now we will attach that to our base card. Like so. Now our brown mat here is going to go just up the one side. So that mat is your 4.5 by 3.5. Pop that down with an even border all the way around, so that is even. Then we have our Photomat, which is 4.25 by 3.25 with our 3x4 mat. So we are going to attach that like so. So there we have our basics. Now I'm going to put this one over here, and I'm going to attach that with some foam tape. Now if you were sticking this down and you didn't want foam tape, you can see that it's actually raised off here. I would actually put a little 2 layers of cardstock just underneath here, which would give you your flat base for attaching that, which in actual fact is something I might do. So just get some of your spare cardstock. Like so. Stick, fold, so that you've got, because you've got your 2 levels plus your photograph, then attach that underneath. And then when you put that on, number one, you can get your photograph underneath, and it is just raised, if you can actually see, just that tiny little bit underneath, and it does actually give you some texture without the bulk. So there, that's another little trick. So there we have another card, absolutely finished, and you can actually see all the fernery behind just matches in with that picture. This one is the other side matching this card. So we have got our brown card by 6x4. Then I have cut one of the burgundies, which is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. Now I can't remember whether with the burgundy card I used 2 sheets or one, but I definitely think I've used 2 sheets of the brown and 2 sheets of the pink. So that goes on with your 1/8 of an inch border. Now I did the same. I got the cream damask paper, which is 3 by 3.5, and I put the washi tape in and just folded it under, which of course if you're using the book or doing it with a stencil or whatever, you just need to match up what you've done for the rest of the layout. And that is going over this side with, once again, with that little 1/8 of an inch border, like so. Now I have got a true photo mat here by 3 by 4, and I've popped my photograph in, which I've just taken a smidging off to fit, and that is going as far over as you can possibly get, leaving once again that little border to match up with everything else, and that goes on here. And as you can tell, this is a similar matching card, except this one is running the opposite way, and we'll have our flowers down here. It just means that you're matching up from one side to the other side, and it's a quick way of doing some of your cards if you sort of mirror the other side of your layout. So here we have our florals I've cut. I've got a burgundy, I've got one of the pinks here, which I'm going to slide underneath like that, put the burgundy on, and I cut an extra one of these so I could actually have a layer going up like that. I cut one of the leaves out that was here, so I'm going to just pop that underneath here, and then I've got a couple of the little greenery pieces. So just lay them out until they look pretty, and then you know where your placement is going to be. So then you can attach those. And when you're sure of your placement, plonk them down. I'll just stick my fernery there. We have that card completely finished, like so. Now we get on with the rest. Now this will be what I call an eye candy card, and you have your pink mat, which is a 6 by 4, and to that you have your floral. Now your floral for this came from here. So you just cut the top of the card to get that just here to where that pink is. So you cut down here like that, so that you have that floral in there. So that gets edged and popped on to the pink mat, like so. Now the cutouts were from the sheet. Now your cutouts are here. This is number 1 sheet, and you will cut these flowers here out and cut some of the leaves out as well, just for that. And this flower here came from number 3 sheet, and it is this one up the top here, and you'll just need the little purple leaves and this little floral here that you can use. I used a different one, but that's the one that you can actually use to just join up with the florals. So what we have got here is my journaling spot. So what I normally do with this, I've cut them already, but I would actually get my, here's my story. And then I would, you have your brown stock. So what I would actually do would, I have my big thing of cardstock, I would actually stick that like this, and then I would get my scissors, just eyeball it, cut it out like so, making sure it's straight like that, and then I'd get my lump of burgundy, and then I would attach that and then just cut it. It's so much easier to get it right than trying to actually cut it and stick it and everything else. So I'm just going to put that on here, and I will fill out my journaling once I've done my layout. So then this is going to go here. This will go here, but I wanted a couple of extra leaves there. So I'm going to raise this with my tape. And this has all been edged with the hickory smoke. And then that is going to go into the bottom corner, right up to the edge. And then I'm going to stick leaves down and just tuck them underneath. And then here's story is going to go. I'm going to move those across. Actually, I don't like them both together, so what I'm going to do, I'll reshape this one. I'll pop that one underneath there, and then pop the other one there. That looks better. And then this is going to just go underneath like that, nice and flat. So I'm going to attach that. Underneath. And as you can see, I know I've put it central there, but it isn't actually central here. And then here, I'm going to raise this one as well, just to give my story card some body. So we'll just attach. As I said, you don't need mountains of this mounting tape because it is in your folders. Right. So there we have our story card finished. There we are, that's where. Now I've just got one of the little cutouts and that spot there. I'm just going to pop that underneath. So there we have our story card completed. our last of our landscape cards, we have got your pink card, which is your 6x4, and then we have our floral. Now your floral comes from number 3 sheet, and I actually took it down here, because remember, you've taken this piece out here, you've taken this piece, so we're just going to snip it straight off. So that gets attached once it's been edged with the hickory smoke. We're just going to attach that down, and this card is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, once again, to give you that little edge. Now I cut an extra piece of the burgundy cardstock, which is 3 1/2 by 2 3/4, and that is going to go layered like that. So now we need to do our mats. Now with our mat, I have got a pink, burgundy and the white to follow the theme through what I've done before with my photograph. And I know this looks odd, but my daughter was looking down a drain to see what was down there. So we just attach this to our mat, and our mat is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. Then this burgundy is 3 by 4. Then I cut just a 1/8 of an inch off all the sides to get a 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 white, and then I just cut my photograph down to match. So there is our photograph mounted. Now this is going onto our card over this side. So just give yourself your little borders so they all match, and just lay it right in the center of this burgundy. Then what's going to happen here is we are going to pop this floral here, and I'm going to swivel it just slightly and have that roughly to where the halfway mark is there of the card. That's going to go down. Now I've got a burgundy piece that came off the cut apart sheet, and that's going to go down the bottom. Then I've got my little floral pieces, which I'm just going to attach. A little bit of greenery there. I'm just going to poke that underneath, like so. And there we have our next card done. So now we can get on with our 3x4s, and we are nearly finished our layout. So onto our 3x4s. I have got my Photomats, which are exactly the same. So I've got my 3x4 with both in pink, and then I have got my 2 7/8 by 3 7/8 in the white. And then I just cut down my photograph to fit. So you just need to mount your photographs onto their mats. Like so. So there's our photographs done there. Now we will go on to our picture cards, and this one here, I took this floral from here. So all you need to do is just cut a 3x4. It's not that important. Any of the cards will work for this one, because we are going to put on top of that a burgundy piece, which is 2 7/8. So you only get that little bit of card showing. So just pop that burgundy on and you should have just that minute little border all the way around. Then I have my brown cardstock, which is 2 5/8 by 3 5/8. So if you're not sure, you could cut 2 of these squares out and then just cut a slither off of all the sides to get that size. Now here I have the leaf. I've used the smaller leaf, but you could use the slightly bigger one, the white one, like that, with no problems at all. It's just a piece of paper I had lying around. So we are going to attach that, and this one is 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. So we're just going to lay that. So we have our mounting. We've got our 4 pieces. Now this piece here came from this piece here. I've actually cut that out. Now the watering can, I think I actually used the second of these sheets to actually cut that watering can, because there wasn't another one. So I actually wanted, you could, if you don't want to do that, just leave it like that, but I wanted that raised. So what I did is I just cut down and cut the whole thing out, and I'm going to position that right in the middle. Of the card, like so. And then I'm going to get my foam tape attach that down. But as I said, if you didn't want to attack your other sheet, you could just leave it like this, but just cut your handle piece out so it was actually see-through. So that is going to go on the top like so. So that's that card finished. So now we have our last of our 3x4s. Now I've cut this floral from this one here. I've just cut that piece out there. And I've done the frame, and the frame came from this one here. If you've used that one by accident, just use one of the other white frames. They will do. Then I found a piece of paper with some of the leaves to pop underneath there. So we have got our measurements here. We have got our pink 3x4, and our brown is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. So we just need to stick that down, which it doesn't want to stick with that, so we'll do it with some tape. I normally for my albums tend, if possible, to use your double-sided tape rather than runners, but for the sake of making these videos a lot quicker, it is easier to use tape runners because they are a lot more costly than doing it other ways. Now with this, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of tape down either side of this, so I can get that over the hole like so. Okay, we will attach that down, making sure it looks realistic and your leaves aren't upside down, into the center like that. Now I've edged this with my hickory smoke, and I'm just going to lay that flat for this one. And then I've got the two little bits here. Just tuck them right underneath. Like that, and I'm not very happy with the way that that is actually raised, so I am thinking I might take them off, which, because you've only just stuck them down, they haven't really stuck permanently. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my little cardstock trick and find my scissors. I'm just going to stick right, so I've just put a couple of pieces of the brown underneath, because that way it's not going to be as thick. That looks better. You probably can't see it from where you are. And then I'm going to tape that piece down because, and this piece, because if you put them in your little folder, you might just catch them and tear them. So I think I'd rather they were stuck. So now we have got all of our cards complete. And there we have our other side. Here we have our finished full 12 by 12 side-by-side layout for your photo album using the Project Life plastic sleeve system. I do hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how I do my cards using ordinary scrapbook collection papers. So please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because then you will get notifications when I do new videos, which I do try to do at least one a month or maybe two a month. So till next time, bye.